Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people and some of the most talented stars. And a man who's shot to fame since 2010 and appeared on the Jonathan Ross Show just a few weeks ago is Romesh Ranganathan. How are you?
Hello, mate. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm delicious, thank you. And all the better for talking to you. It's not going bad, your career, at the moment, is it?
Well, just very grateful for positive discrimination, mate. It's really helped my career out, do you know what I mean? So, you know, as long as I am available to tick any box that's required, mate. Do you know what I mean? So,
have you thought of working at the BBC? I think you'd do very well. You'll be director of the Trust by lunchtime, won't you?
Well, I'm Asian with a lazy eye, so I feel like it's sort of...
What about being gay? Could you tick that box?
Well, I'd be willing to if it meant more exposure. So, do you know what I mean? Whatever they need, mate. I'm not proud. Do you know what I mean? I'll do whatever.
I did try it when I joined the BBC, but I couldn't stand being rejected by both sexes. It wasn't nice. Hey, listen, your career's going so well, and what's interesting, your first tour, which did incredibly well, was Rome Wasn't Built in a Day, but it was. I mean, literally overnight, you were selling out theatres. How is that possible?
Well, it might look like it's overnight, but it wasn't. You know, it's very kind of you to say, and like, I am happy with the tour and stuff, but, you know, you have to do, I still did all the thing where, you know, I was teaching and then started doing stand-up and then made the move to like go full-time doing stand-up, and it was a struggle, man. Like, we were struggling, and, you know, I sort of left the job that was very stable. You know, teaching is one of the most stable and sort of reliable things you can do, and going into comedy was a risk. And like, you know, for a while we really struggled. I wasn't able to pay the bills and stuff. So like, luckily, my wife was pretty understanding about it. She was happy to support my vanity project. But if she'd have turned around and gone, I don't think we can do this anymore, then, you know, we had a really embarrassing situation where like basically I couldn't afford the road tax on my car. And because, you know, because, you know, I don't know if you know, when you start out, you're doing 10-minute spots for nothing, right?
Yeah.
And then if the clubs like you, then they put you in for like 20 minutes, and then gradually you start to work your way up in the clubs and stuff, and start to make a bit more, you know. And then it's quite a slow process to get to a point where you're making enough money to make ends meet or whatever. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying that it's the hardest thing in the world, but what I mean is it takes a while for you to get to that point. But you know, there's a point where I couldn't afford the road tax on the car, and I said to my wife, I'm going to try, I'll pay it as soon as I get some money. And came home one day, the car had been taken away. And then I phoned up, and they said, it's been impounded because you haven't paid your road tax. And I just couldn't afford to get it back. So I just had to say to my wife, we don't have a car anymore. I mean, it was pretty bad. But fortunately, even then, she didn't say, I think you should give up stand-up. So I've been lucky. But yeah, that's not to say I'm not happy with how it's going. You know, I'm grateful to be able to be in a situation where you can go on tour with your own show. I think is a blessing, man, and I'm really enjoying it. It's good. God, that sounded really. Oh God, that sounded like Oscar acceptance speech. No,
I totally get what you mean, because it seems to me in comedy you're either it or you're nothing. There's very little in between now. You're either a club comic or you've got your own show doing a tour. There's no middle ground, is there? You're it or nothing.
Well, I think it's a weird thing, because, you know, the whole thing of stand-up comedy as a career in this country is a relatively new phenomenon. Do you know what I mean? And I think that it's sort of it's changed. It changes all the time, and I think that, you know, I think that, you know, you look at club comedy, and club comedy is so brilliant in this country, and like we've got loads of amazing comics, and but I think that the problem is that you know, when you have a recession or whatever, you know, going to see live comedy is a luxury, and so people don't do it, and especially when it's on TV and stuff, so people just don't do it. And then what happens is you just get a situation where live comedy, it sort of suffers. And I think that's a shame, but it's just how it is. But it feels like it's sort of turning around now. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, the clubs are fuller and stuff. And no, you know, fingers crossed it will be going on. But the problem is that when people don't have a lot of money, that's the other issue, is they don't want to take a risk on anyone. Do you know what I mean? So like, you know, when you have a choice of watching a show, they want to watch somebody they've seen on something. Whereas there's so many amazing comics that maybe you haven't seen, and it's worth taking a punt on. You know, but the thing is, you know, there's a lot of nice comedy clubs like where you can pay £10 and they put on 4 comics, and even if you don't like one of them, there's going to be someone that you think is brilliant, or 2 or 3 of them that you think are brilliant. So it is worth taking a risk. But the problem is that when you haven't got a lot of money, you want to sort of put your money. You don't want to take a risk, do you? You want to take a safe bet of going and seeing someone you know.
And there's nothing better than that feeling of seeing three complete dopes who are bores and then finding one gem that you know you're going to love for the rest of your life. I mean, that's the joy of a comedy club.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so good, you know. And I think, like, you know, when I used to go and watch stand-up, I remember, like, I remember used to go to the Comedy Store a lot, and I remember going and watching it, and you know, it was Fred McCauley was comparing, Ricky Grover was opening, Addy van der Borg was in the middle, and Terry Alderson was closing. And that was a hell of a line, and I remember just being blown away. And I've followed those guys ever since, and I was like, you know, that was like one of my first nights there, but I'll never forget that night. It was like I just couldn't believe that the people could make you laugh that much. I mean, and I'd only watched stand-up sort of on TV and an American stuff, and you know, I've watched other bits and pieces, but being actually in the room is just amazing. I don't think there's any substitute for going and watching comedy live.
What I'm amazed about your act particularly is how relaxed you look and unaffected you are by the room you're in or the audience you're performing to. How long did it take you to get that confidence, or is that an act in itself, looking so confident?
I've only relatively recently stopped getting cripplingly nervous before I go on. I mean, for the first, I don't know, 2 years or whatever, I got really sort of get really nervous before going on, like really, you know, horribly so. I think like everyone does. But I think that a part of it is just, I think I'm helped by just my demeanour. Do you know what I mean? I have a face that looks indifferent to everything.
You should put that on a poster.
I have a voice that sounds indifferent to everything. You know, so those sort of things give the illusion of maybe greater calm than what's going on beneath the surface.
Yeah. And then you find yourself one day on Jonathan Ross's couch, and now you're in a whole new territory where you're not working to your comedy script. You can't be ramming in your gags every 2 seconds. You've got to be you. Is that unnerving or is that thrilling?
With my stand-up, you know, and I think a lot of people are like this. When you're doing stand-up, you're trying to be yourself as much as possible. When you start off, you can't be yourself because you have to learn how to do it. And then gradually, as you go on, it takes years and years and years. But, you know, Louis C.K. said, for like the first 10 years of him doing it, he didn't have a clue what he was doing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is, I mean, I think it's definitely an exaggeration. That's incredible. But I think that, you know, you hope that as your stand-up develops, what you're doing on stage is closer and closer. For me, I want it to be as close to me off stage as possible. And so like, when you get a situation where you're just required to be yourself, I think it's good. It's exciting. You know, it's nice. I mean, it's the only thing, you know, obviously with being on someone like Jonathan Ross, it's not a comedy show. It's a big show. Right,
and a very different audience to the ones in the club as well.
Yeah, and then you always just what I was worried about, to be honest with you, my main worry was I was on with like Matt Lucas, Paddy McGuinness, and Jennifer Saunders. Oh, wow. 3 people who are like mega, and I was just thinking it's just going to look like I've won a competition being on a show with these people. You know what I mean? I'm just going to wander out there and go, do you know what, mate? You know what? I've heard of political correctness, but now they're pushing it too far. I think it's got some random dude to appear with these guys. Do you know what I mean? So, but it was fun. You know, Jonathan was really nice to me, and you know, he's a real support. Like the great thing about him is he's a really big supporter of sort of bringing through. You know, he loves comedy and he likes bringing through new comedians. Yeah. So, you know, that's the reason I was lucky enough to be asked to do the show, and I'm very grateful to him for it.
And of course, that's the legacy of those great chat shows in America, that they started off so many comedians like you. Is it odd, though, when somebody like Ross knows who you are before you introduce yourself? That's got to be a bit strange.
It's mind-blowing. You know, it's mental, you know, and it's really, I've never, you know, it's just, you don't realise it, you know, and sometimes it's a bit surreal, you know, you sort of think, there's lots of surreal moments. It's like, you know, I watched like Mock the Week and Live at the Apollo, and like, I was a massive fan of those shows, and then when you end up going and doing them, you do have to sort of think, yeah, you sort of have to stop thinking about how bonkers it is, because if you do, you get so nervous that you can't do it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. It is, you know, if somebody like Jonathan Ross knows who you are, it's weird. It is weird. So yeah, you just have to sort of deal with it. But my problem is I'm normally quite a calm person, but with people like that, I get very sort of. I end up sort of making a fool of myself. I don't know if you have this problem, but whenever I meet people that I sort of know, you know, from being famous, or I like what they do or whatever, I end up making an idiot of myself. You know, one of the things with Jonathan Ross is I'm a massive hip hop fan. Right. And like, you know, when he had his show years ago, he was a massive supporter of hip hop, and he was like, I think he was like, he put on Public Enemy on his show years ago, and I remember being blown away by the fact that he would have Public Enemy on like a mainstream entertainment show, and I remember thinking, it's incredible. The way I just told you that was a lot more eloquent than the way I described it to him when I saw it. I just think it's so incredible. When you put on Public Enemy, it's so amazing. I just so great. Thank you. Oh my God, it's so good. Awful.
Listen, I once had it. I was in a spa with Sue Pollard. I'm not even going to go into what happened. It can be very embarrassing when you meet your heroes.
Oh, of course, yeah, totally.
What are the rules about your comedy with the current Miss Ranganathan now? Are you allowed to give to a certain percentage, or are there rules about what you can or can't talk about?
For me personally, I'll talk about anything really. Like, I mean, sometimes, to be honest with you, I sometimes worry that I give away too. You know, for example, I mean, it's everything I say is true. You know, it all comes from truth or whatever. So it is all real, and I don't normally think there's nothing that I wouldn't talk about. I don't think. I do have certain things, like, you know, like there's certain things if I don't talk about something because I don't find it interesting, I wouldn't want to talk about it. Just not because of a self-censorship thing, just because I don't find it interesting to talk about that. But I remember doing this bit about like my brother's wife's baby had like a bit of a cone head when he was born. And sort of, I did a bit about. I sort of just told that story about the reaction you have when you go into the hospital, and and I didn't know that he was going to have a cone head. And I remember like sort of just coming up with that bit, and I went to do some new material night. My brother and his wife were there, and I did that bit. And then I just realised I've just gone up on stage. I didn't even check with them beforehand. Just went up on stage and just shared this story about their beloved child. Like, thankfully, they were right about it. Really, they sort of, my family and friends have sort of accepted that anything that happens could be thrown up on stage, so they're pretty good about it.
Do you worry that it could all end tomorrow, or do you now feel you can sit back and are almost guaranteed a career? Because show business can be brutal, can't it?
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone ever feels in a position where they can sit back and they've made it or whatever, and I'm certainly nowhere near where I want to be. I mean, first thing I'd say is I'm not as good a comedian as I'd like to be. You know, I want to be, my whole thing is, my main ambition has always been to be a touring comic. That's my ultimate thing, and everything I do is building towards that and hoping that I can be the best comic I can be. But I think that, it's not, I'm not as worried about, my ultimate dream was to make a living from stand-up comedy, and I'm currently doing that, so that's amazing. And as long as I can do that, I'll be really happy, and whether that be, doing telly, whether that be doing the clubs or whatever, it's just incredible. I love comedy, I love stand-up comedy, I always have done. So for that to be paying the bills, still blows my mind, you know what I mean? The fact that I can pay the bills through doing comedy, it's amazing. I'm very grateful.
The touring bit's fascinating, though. What is it? You have a predilection toward premiere inns or something? Well, why do you want to be on the road?
I don't know. There's something about going and doing a show and having a really nice time, and then contrasting that with the bleakness of sitting in a travel lodge on your own.
By yourself.
There's something so addictive about that, isn't it?
What is it? You and a ginster's pasty, is it, or something?
Yeah, I think that's what it must be. Just want to eat really unhealthily in different service stations. That's kind of my ambition. No, I just love doing the tour's great. It's good fun. It's really exciting, and
it's not going to be a problem this autumn because you're going on tour with Susie Ruffell through the summer, and this is going to be a double-header. This is quite rare. I mean, you don't often get to see two comedians of your calibre on the same bill. Why did you decide to do that? Because I guess you only get 50% of the money.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I'm trying to figure out a way of cheating Susie out of it, but it's not worked out. It is being split, 50-50. And it's just, to be honest with you, I've not been out. I mean, I've been out on tour before, but only as support. I did support for Sean Walsh for a long time, and it was just Susie is somebody that I really get on with, and we just decided it'd be a nice sort of way to travel the country for our first time. Do you know what I mean? And so, and also we thought it's a good. The other thing we thought is that we're so different. It's quite a nice thing for the audience as well. But you wouldn't want to have a double header of two people that are sort of the same act or similar acts, you know what I mean? So, it's a bit much, but because we're so different, Susie's show is very uplifting, it's a very positive person, so you have that, and then once your self-esteem is really high and you feel good about things, I come along and
Ruin it.
And deconstruct that completely, yeah.
Destroy every bit of optimism.
Yeah, exactly. And just with mates, and it's just good fun. It's just enjoyable.
I was also thinking, going back to bring this interview full circle to the beginning of our interview, I mean, have you thought of getting a government grant, the pair of you? Because, I mean, between you, I mean, you're ticking a lot of boxes.
Oh, it's incredible. Do you know what I mean? I think we've got to be the most politically correct tour in the country. I don't know why we didn't stick that on the tour poster. A lesbian and an Asian. It's amazing. It's just, I don't know. We just thought we could get the Guardian readers in. Do you know what I mean? I thought we could definitely. They're definitely going to support us. Do you know what I mean? It's it hadn't occurred to us, and when we put it together, we were like, this is amazing, man.
Well, I can't wait to see you.
There's not a box unticked. It's so good.
I love it. Hey, Romesh, great to talk to you. Susie Ruffle and yourself will be on tour through 2015. I'm going to come and see you. Two amazing acts, and I'm so pleased it's going so well for you. You dream of being spotted, you've been spotted, and now you're delivering. And I suppose that's all you can do. Keep knocking it out the park with your comedy, and you'll remain at the top.
Well, I hope so. What I'm hoping is to get big enough that I can just be mediocre and just coast. You know, a lot of people want to get better and better, but I just sort of think, you know what? All right,
thanks so much. Romesh Ranganathan is our special guest today. He's on tour with Susie Ruffle. Just give us your address so we can get to the website and book tickets. What's the website?
Well, it's romeshranganathan.com, which is an unfortunate website address, isn't it? So
yeah, I think we could find something a little bit more ring-a-ding-ding than that, to be honest. How about rang.com or something, or even just ramesh.com?
I should change it to that or something. But if you go to my Twitter, Romesh Ranga, I normally put all the dates up on there.
Shall I spell it for the hard of thinking, or shall we let them just Google it?
No, you go for it. I mean, I want to see you do it.
Okay, capital ROMESH, capital RANGANATHAN. Is that right?
You absolutely smashed that, mate.
Tell you what, not doing bad. I should put him for a pay rise. Hey, great to talk to you. Romesh is on tour with Susie through the rest of the year. Good to talk to you, mate.
You too. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye.